In 2007, Guitar Hero 3 became the first individual video game in history to cross $1 billion in retail sales in a single title. Within 3 years, the entire franchise was effectively dead. Not acquired, not quietly retired, destroyed by the very forces that built it. That is not a story about bad luck. It is a story about a structural trap that was hidden inside every single success the franchise ever had. The origin sits in a niche that almost nobody noticed. In 2005, a company called RedOctane, which specialized in manufacturing unusual game controllers, looked at Konami's Guitar Freak's arcade cabinet and saw an opening. The American home console market had no equivalent experience. RedOctane enlisted Harmonix, a Boston developer that had already built several music games without breaking through commercially, to develop the software. The entire first game was made on a budget of $1 million. That number matters because it tells you exactly how little anyone expected from it. What Harmonix built was deceptively simple. A guitar-shaped plastic controller, 5 colored fret buttons, a strum bar, and scrolling notes that demanded timing and coordination. The genius was not technical, it was psychological. Guitar Hero did not teach anyone to play guitar. It gave players the feeling of playing guitar, the physical sensation of rhythm, the crowd response, the performance, without the years of practice. That emotional shortcut was the entire product, and in 2005, there was nothing else like it on a home console in North America. The series grew quickly. Each release expanded the song library, improved the master recording licensing, and added features. By the time Guitar Hero 3 shipped in October 2007, developed now by Neversoft after Activision had acquired RedOctane, the franchise had become a cultural event. The game featured Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine and Slash of Guns N' Roses as playable characters and guitar battle opponents. It shipped on PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Wii simultaneously. It included online multiplayer for the first time, and it became the best-selling video game of 2007 by both units sold and total revenue, the first title in the industry's history to cross $1 billion in retail sales. The series as a whole had by that point sold more than 25 million units and earned over $2 billion at retail. That peak, documented and precise, is also the moment the hidden crack becomes visible in retrospect. The crack was not in the game itself, it was in the hardware. Every Guitar Hero sale that included a controller, which was most of them, depended on a consumer buying a piece of specialized plastic that served exactly one purpose. The peripheral was not a platform. It was a consumable whose value expired the moment the player stopped wanting more Guitar Hero content. And crucially, that peripheral had a physical storage problem. As more titles shipped, households began accumulating guitars they had nowhere to put. The growth flywheel that had powered the franchise, new game, bundled hardware, new audience, quietly inverted when the addressable audience for first-time buyers began to shrink. There was a second structural force operating in parallel. In 2007, the same year Guitar Hero 3 broke records, Harmonix, the original developer, now owned by MTV Games, shipped Rock Band. Rock Band was a direct competitive response, expanding the band simulation to include drums and vocals alongside guitar. Guitar Hero World Tour, released in October 2008, added the same drum and vocal functionality to compete. The series that had defined the category now had to chase it. Both franchises were simultaneously flooding the market with hardware bundles and content, splitting the consumer base and the retailer shelf space at exactly the moment both needed concentration to survive. The decisions made under this pressure compounded the structural problem rather than containing it. Activision's response to rising competition was volume. Between 2007 and 2010, the publisher released an extraordinary number of Guitar Hero titles across multiple platforms: main entries, band-specific spin-offs, portable versions, and the DJ Hero and Band Hero extensions. Each new release required its own peripheral bundle, at a time when many potential buyers already owned hardware they had stopped using. The market was not growing to absorb the supply. It was fragmenting under it. Sales began falling sharply starting in 2009, a documented industry-wide decline across the rhythm game genre. Activision stated publicly that its consumer research suggested continued solid demand, and the company announced Guitar Hero was going on hiatus for 2011, while a seventh main installment was in development. That seventh game was later cancelled. The stated reason was quality. The emerging product was considered poor. Whether the cancellation reflected a genuine quality failure or a market that had already closed is a distinction the available evidence does not fully resolve. Both were likely true at once. The downloadable content service, which had been a meaningful revenue extension, allowing players to purchase individual songs, was shut down entirely. Users who had already bought content could still access what they owned, but no new purchases were possible. The catalog locked and went silent. The franchise did not end permanently in 2011. In October 2015, Activision released Guitar Hero Live, described as a full reboot of the series, developed by Freestyle Games, the studio behind DJ Hero. The reboot changed the controller design, shifted to a live-action concert visual style, and introduced a streaming song service called GHTV to replace the traditional setlist model. The reception was described as lukewarm. Sales did not recover the franchise's former scale. Activision subsequently laid off many of the developers who had worked on Guitar Hero Live, sold Freestyle Games to Ubisoft, and shut down the GHTV streaming service. When GHTV ended, it took with it the primary content mechanism the reboot had been built around. What remained was a brand without a platform, a library of plastic controllers in attics and closets, and a genre that had essentially ceased to exist as a commercial force. The 25 releases across the series' lifespan, the $2 billion in retail sales, the cultural moment where plastic guitars appeared at Super Bowl parties and in living rooms across North America, all of it compressed into a window of roughly 4 years at scale, followed by a collapse that took less time than the rise. The mechanism that destroyed Guitar Hero was not a single bad decision, a villain, or a market that simply moved on. The mechanism was dependency. The franchise was built on a peripheral that could only justify its existence through an unbroken sequence of desirable new releases. The moment release quality dropped, or the market became saturated, or a competitor divided consumer attention, the peripheral became a liability rather than an asset. And because the hardware was physical and accumulated in homes, the damage was not correctable through a software patch or a price cut. The barriers were already sitting in consumers' closets. Any business model built on proprietary hardware that loses its reason to exist the moment content slows down carries that same structural vulnerability, whether the hardware is a plastic guitar, a subscription peripheral, or a platform whose exclusive content pipeline has dried up. Guitar Hero made that mechanism visible at a billion-dollar scale, in real time in living rooms around the world.